President, ladies and gentlemen, the Middle East is not... We all saw the terrible explosion at Beirut port last month. The explosion happened here. This is the Beirut port. 200 people died, thousands of people were injured, and 250,000 people were made homeless. Now, here's where the next explosion could take place, right here. This is the Beirut neighborhood of Janah. It's right next to the international airport. And here, Hezbollah is keeping a secret arms depot. This secret arms depot right here is adjacent, a meter away from a gas company. These are gas canisters, right here. It's a few meters away from a gas station. It's 50 meters away from the gas company. Here are more gas trucks. And it's embedded in civilian housing here, civilian housing here. The Janah neighborhood residents, this is the actual coordinates. So I want to show you the entrance to Hezbollah's missile factory, because that's what it is. It's right here. This is the gas company, and this is the missile explosive depot. I say to the people of Janah, you've got to act now. You've got to protest this. Because if this thing explodes, it's another tragedy. I say to the people of Lebanon, Israel means you no harm, but Iran does. Iran and Hezbollah have deliberately put you and your families in grave danger. And what you should make clear is what they have done is unacceptable. You should tell them, tear these depots down. Just a few days ago, one of these depots exploded at Ein Kana in South Lebanon. And that is why the international community must insist that Hezbollah stop using Lebanon and Lebanese civilians as human shields. Tourism, increased cooperation in so many areas. For far too long, the Palestinians effectively wielded the veto on peace between Israel and the broader Arab world. For decades, all progress was halted and was held hostage to completely unrealistic Palestinian demands. Who live in the Middle East are suffering the consequences of that irresponsible deal. The expanding circle of peace will not make an agreement between Israel and the Palestinians less likely. It will make peace between Israelis and Palestinians more likely. Palestinian leaders will increasingly realize that they no longer have a veto over peace and progress in our region. And hopefully, those leaders will ultimately decide to make peace with the Jewish state. And when that happens, Israel will be ready. I will be ready. And I'd be willing to negotiate on the basis of the Trump plan to end our conflict with the Palestinians once and for all.
Netanyahu.
First and foremost, I commend President Trump for withdrawing from the flawed nuclear deal with Iran. In 2015, I stood alone among world leaders in opposing the shameful nuclear deal that was made with Iran. I opposed it because the nuclear deal did not block Iran's path to the bomb. It actually paved its way to it. I oppose it because the deal's restrictions on Iran's nuclear program were only temporary and were in no way tied to Iran's change of behavior.